Hey everyone, welcome back. Just before we start, it's a fun idea if you type in where you're listening from. Thanks, like and subscribe, and let's get this started. I sit in my home office, the soft glow of the desk lamp casting long shadows across the room. It's late and the house is quiet, the kind of silence that wraps around you like a comforting blanket. Emily is already in bed, probably reading one of those mystery novels she loves so much. I can hear the faint rustle of pages turning from down the hall. It's been 10 years since we said our vows, and I still can't believe how lucky I am. Emily is beautiful, smart, and caring. She's always been my rock, the one who keeps me grounded when work pulls me in too deep. Being a successful attorney has its perks, but it also means long hours and late nights, and I know I've been away more than I should be. But we've always made it work. I trust her implicitly. I lean back in my chair, staring at the framed photos on my desk. There's one from our honeymoon in Santorini, her smile wide and genuine, the sun highlighting the freckles on her nose. I can't help but smile back at the memory. We were so in love, so carefree. Those early days were filled with passion, the kind that made my heart race every time I looked at her. Even now, after all these years, there's still a spark between us. I've been planning a surprise vacation for our anniversary next month, something to rekindle that old flame. I've already booked a villa in Tuscany. She'll love it. I glance at the clock, just past midnight. I should head to bed. As I reach to turn off my computer, a notification pops up on Emily's phone, which is charging on the desk beside mine. I don't usually snoop, but something about this one catches my eye. It's from an unknown number, and the message preview reads, "Can't wait to see you again." My heart skips a beat. I tell myself it's probably nothing, a friend maybe, but the seed of doubt has already been planted. My hand hovers over the phone. I know I shouldn't invade her privacy, but the words keep echoing in my mind. I pick up the phone and unlock it. The message is short, almost innocuous, but it's enough. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My stomach churns and a cold sweat breaks out across my forehead. This can't be real. Emily wouldn't. She couldn't. I put the phone down as if it's burning my hand. My mind races trying to make sense of what I've just read. The life I thought I knew, the marriage I believed in, it all suddenly feels like a lie. The room around me feels different, colder, as if the walls are closing in. I hear Emily's footsteps approaching. I quickly sit back, my heart pounding. The door creaks open, and she pokes her head in, smiling softly. "You coming to bed?" I force a smile, but inside everything is starting to unravel. My mind races all night, sleep eluding me as the weight of what I've seen presses down on my chest. Emily's soft breaths beside me are usually comforting, but tonight they're suffocating. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of questions with no clear answers. How long has this been going on? Who is he? And most importantly, why? By morning, I'm a wreck, barely able to drag myself out of bed. I need answers, but I can't confront her yet, not without more proof. I decide to play it cool, acting like everything's normal. I kiss Emily on the forehead before I leave for work, my lips brushing against her skin, trying to detect any hint of deception. But all I feel is the familiar warmth of the woman I love. It almost convinces me that everything is fine. Almost. At work, I'm a shadow of myself. My focus is shot, and my usual precision is dulled by the incessant buzzing of doubt in my head. I go through the motions, attending meetings, reviewing cases, but my mind is elsewhere, stuck on that message and what it might mean. My colleagues notice, asking if I'm okay, but I brush them off with a forced smile. I decide I can't wait. By lunchtime, I'm already driving home, my heart pounding in my chest. I need to know who he is, and I need to see it with my own eyes. I park a few blocks away from the house and wait, my hands trembling as I grip the steering wheel. Every car that passes by feels like a potential threat. Every pedestrian is we hours crawl by, each minute a new layer of anxiety building up inside me. Then I see her. Emily steps out of the house, looking around nervously before getting into her car. I follow her, keeping my distance, my stomach churning with every turn she makes. She drives to a cafe on the other side of town, a small, quiet place we've never been to together. That fact alone sets off alarm bells in my head. I watch from across the street as she enters the cafe. A few minutes later, a man joins her at the table. My vision tunnels, and the world seems to narrow down to just them. He's well-dressed, confident, with a casual smile that makes my blood boil. They sit close, too close, and then it happens. He reaches across the table and gently touches her cheek, a gesture so intimate, so familiar. It's all the confirmation I need. The pain that hits me is indescribable. It's a physical ache, like someone's driving a knife into my chest. I can barely breathe as I watch them, every second reinforcing the reality that I've been betrayed. The woman I've loved, the woman I've built my life around, has been seeing someone else. My hands shake with a mix of rage and despair, and I feel like I might explode if I don't do something, anything, but I don't confront them. Not yet. I need more than just a scene in a cafe. I need the full picture, the whole truth. So I wait, watching as they talk, laugh, and eventually part ways. She leaves first, and I follow her again, my mind already spinning with plans. I'm going to confront her tonight. I'm going to get answers. The drive back home feels surreal, like I'm trapped in a nightmare I can't wake up from. I replay the scene over and over in my mind, each time getting angrier, each time feeling more betrayed. By the time I pull into the driveway, I'm barely holding it together. Emily is in the kitchen when I walk in, humming softly as she prepares dinner. The normalcy of it all makes me sick. I stand in the doorway watching her for a moment, my fists clenched at my sides. She looks up, smiling when she sees me, but the smile fades when she notices the look on my face. "What's wrong?" she asks, her voice tinged with concern. I can't hold back anymore. "Who is he, Emily?" The words come out cold and sharp, like a blade cutting through the air. Her eyes widen in shock. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me," I snap, stepping closer. "I saw you today, at the cafe, with him." She stares at me, her face draining of color. For a moment, she doesn't say anything, and in that silence, everything falls apart. I know the truth, even before she admits it. I, I'm sorry, Mark," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Sorry?" I repeat, incredulous. "That's all you have to say?" "Sorry?" Tears well up in her eyes and she nods, biting her lip as if trying to hold back the floodgates. "It wasn't supposed to happen. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I say, my voice breaking. "You did, Emily. You've destroyed everything." She starts to cry, but I'm too angry to feel any sympathy. "Who is he? How long has this been going on?" She hesitates, and for a second, I think she might lie to me again. But then she takes a deep breath and finally answers. "His name is Tom. We met a few months ago. It wasn't serious at first, just someone to talk to, but then you decided to fuck him behind my back." I finish for her, the bitterness in my voice cutting deep. She flinches, but she doesn't deny it. Her silence is all the confirmation I need. I turn away, running my hands through my hair, trying to process everything. This woman, the woman I've trusted with my life, has been lying to me for months. It's all too much. "I don't understand," I say after a long moment. "Why Emily? Why him?" She looks down, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't know. I was lonely, I guess. You were always so busy with work, and I felt like you didn't have time for me anymore. Tom was there, and I was weak." "Weak?" I laugh, but there's no humor in it. "Is that what you're calling it? Weakness?" "Please, Mark," she begs, reaching out to me, but I pull back before she can touch me. "I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake." "Yeah, you did," I say, my voice cold. "And now you're going to pay for it." She looks at me, fear creeping into her eyes. "What do you mean?" "You've got 3 weeks," I say, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. 3 weeks to get your things and get out of this house." "Mark, no, please," she sobs, her hands trembling. Can't we talk about this? Can't we work it out? There's nothing to work out, I say, my tone final. You betrayed me, Emily. You broke our marriage. Otwen. And I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. She collapses onto the floor, crying uncontrollably, but I don't move to comfort her. I can't. All I can feel is anger and betrayal, and the urge to make her feel as much pain as I'm feeling right now. I'll know in 3 weeks whether I want to kill you or just divorce you, I say, and the words hang in the air like a death sentence. She looks up at me, her eyes wide with terror. Mark, please, don't say that. You don't mean it. Don't I reply, my voice void of any emotion. You have no idea what I'm capable of, Emily. No idea. I leave her there, sobbing on the kitchen floor, and walk out of the house. My hands are shaking, my heart racing. I can't be near her right now. I need to clear my head, figure out my next move. As I drive aimlessly through the streets, one thought keeps replaying in my mind. I need to see this Tom. I need to understand what kind of man would dare to take my wife from me. And when I do, I'll decide what happens next. I bury myself in work the next morning, trying to ignore the gnawing pain in my chest. My office feels like a refuge, but the walls are closing in on me. Every time I close my eyes, I see Emily with that man. I don't even know his name, but his face is burned into my mind. But I can't let this break me. I'm an attorney, trained to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly when everything else is chaos. I need to take control. I need to find out everything about this man, who he is, what he does, and how he managed to worm his way into my life. I start with the basics. Emily mentioned his name, Tom. I don't know his last name, but that's a start. I dive into every resource at my disposal, pulling up client lists, social media profiles, anything that might give me a clue. I keep it discreet, not wanting anyone in the office to catch on. My colleagues don't need to know about this. Not yet. Hours pass as I comb through countless names and faces. It's tedious work, but I've done this before for cases. It's a routine, almost mechanical, but the emotional toll is different. This isn't just a case, this is my life, my marriage. Finally, I find him. Tom Carter, wealthy businessman, a real estate mogul with a reputation for being ruthless in his dealings. Married, of course, with a picture-perfect family that graces the society pages. His public persona is spotless, but I've seen enough to know that everyone has secrets. And I'm going to find his. I need more than just a name and a face. I need proof, something solid that I can use to confront him, to make him back off. But as I dig deeper, I find things that make me pause. There are rumors, whispers about his business dealings, connections to organized crime. Nothing concrete, just enough to raise red flags. This isn't just some guy Emily met by chance. He's dangerous. I can't do this alone. I need help, someone who can dig deeper, find the dirt that I can't. Laura Quinn comes to mind. She's a private investigator I've worked with before, sharp and resourceful. If anyone can uncover Tom's secrets, it's her. I call her up, and within an hour we're meeting at a small, out-of-the-way diner. Laura is all business, her eyes sharp as she listens to my story. I don't give her all the details, just enough to get her on the trail. She nods, already piecing things together in her mind. This guy sounds like trouble, she says, tapping her fingers on the table. You sure you want to go after him? I don't have a choice, I reply, my voice tight. He's not just sleeping with my wife. There's something more going on, and I need to know what it is. She studies me for a moment, then nods. I'll see what I can dig up. But Mark, be careful. If he's connected to the wrong people, this could get messy. I know, I say, my mind already racing ahead. Just find out what you can. The rest is on me. As I leave the diner, my phone buzzes. It's a message from Emily asking when I'll be home. The thought of seeing her again makes my stomach turn. I can't face her right now, not with all of this swirling in my head. I tell her I'll be late, using work as an excuse, but I can't avoid her forever. When I finally do walk through the door that night, she's waiting for me in the living room, her eyes red from crying. She looks up as I enter, her face a mix of guilt and desperation. Mark, we need to talk, she says, her voice trembling. About what? I reply coldly, not meeting her eyes. About how you have been screwing around behind my back, or about how you brought a dangerous man into our lives. She flinches at my words, tears spilling over. I didn't know, Mark. I swear, I didn't know who he really was. It just happened. It just happened? I echo, my voice rising. How the hell does something like that just happen, Emily? You don't accidentally end up in bed with someone. You made a choice. I was lonely, she cries, standing up, her hands clenched at her sides. You were never around anymore, always working, always distracted. I needed someone, and he was there. And now you've put us both in danger, I snap, finally looking at her. Do you have any idea who he is, what he's involved in? She stares at me, confusion and fear crossing her face. What are you talking about? Tom Carter, I say, the name bitter on my tongue. He's not just some random guy. He's connected to organized crime, Emily. You've been screwing around with someone who could destroy both of us. Her face goes pale, and she shakes her head in disbelief. No. No, that can't be true. He's just a businessman. He never said anything like that. Of course he didn't, I retort, my anger flaring. You think he's going to tell you the truth? He's using you, Emily. And now I'm caught up in it too. She sinks back onto the couch, her hands covering her face as she stubbles. I'm so sorry, Mark. I never wanted this. I didn't know how to stop. The sight of her like this, so broken, stirs something in me. Despite everything, despite the anger and betrayal, I still care about her. Maybe I even still love her. But that doesn't change what she's done. We're in this now, I say, my voice softer but still firm, and we need to figure out how to get out of it. Together. She looks up at me, hope flickering in her eyes. We'll see more now. Together? I nod, though the word feels heavy on my tongue. For now, but don't think this means I've forgiven you. We're doing this because we don't have a choice. We sit down and for the first time in weeks, we actually talk. Not as husband and wife, but as two people facing a common enemy. Emily tells me everything she knows about Tom, every detail she can remember, no matter how small. I listen, piecing together the fragments of a puzzle that's becoming more dangerous by the minute. The more she tells me, the more I realize how deep Tom's connections run. He's not just a businessman, he's a predator, weaving his way into people's lives and using them for his own gain. And now he's got his claws in Emily, and by extension, me. I tell her about Laura, about the investigation we're starting. She looks relieved, as if finally seeing a way out of the mess she's made. But I can't share her relief, not yet. Tom's not going to let this go, I say, my voice grim. He knows about us, and he's not the kind of man who just walks away. What do? She asks, her voice small. We fight back, I reply, the determination in my voice surprising even me. We find out everything we can about him, and we use it to take him down. He's not just going to ruin our lives and get away with it. Emily nods, but I can see the fear in her eyes. She knows as well as I do that this is far from over. But for now, we have a plan, a way forward, and that's something. We go to bed that night, but there's no intimacy, no comfort in lying next to each other. There's only the cold reality of what we're facing. I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts of Tom, of what he might do next, of how I can stop him. The next morning, Laura calls with an update. Mark, you were right about Tom. He's involved in some serious shit. Money laundering, extortion, you name it. He's got ties to a criminal syndicate that's been under investigation for years, but no one's been able to nail him. The news doesn't surprise me, but it still sends a chill down my spine. What does this mean for us? It means you need to be careful, she replies. Tom's not just going to roll over and let you ruin his life. If he knows you're onto him, he'll do whatever it takes to protect himself. I thank her and hang up, the weight of her words settling on my shoulders. I've stirred up a hornet's nest, and now I have to deal with the consequences. But there's no turning back now. I have to see this through. I tell Emily about Laura's findings, and I can see the fear in her eyes again. But there's something else too, a determination, a resolve to make things right. "We're going to get through this," she says, her voice trembling but steady. "We have to." I nod, but I can't shake the feeling that we're in way over our heads. Tom is dangerous, more dangerous than I ever imagined. And now we're locked in a battle that could destroy us both. But I'm not backing down. Not now, not ever. I know I have to confront Tom directly. The thought of it makes my blood boil, but I can't keep dancing around this. He's a threat, and threats have to be dealt with head on. The idea of sitting across from him, pretending to be civil, turns my stomach. But I can't let him see that. I need to be in control. I set up the meeting through Laura. She's hesitant, but she knows I'm not backing down. Tom agrees to meet at a private club downtown, the kind of place where men like him feel at home, surrounded by money and power. I don't tell Emily. She's too scared, too fragile right now. It's better she doesn't know until it's over. When I arrive, the club's dim lighting and expensive decor feel like a set, a stage for this twisted play we're about to perform. Tom is already there, seated in a corner booth, nursing a glass of scotch. He looks up as I approach, a smirk playing on his lips. I hate that smile. It's the smile of a man who thinks he's untouchable. "Mark," he says, standing up to shake my hand. His grip is firm, confident. I was wondering when we'd finally get to chat. I sit down across from him, not returning the smile. "We need to get a few things straight." He chuckles, leaning back in his seat. "I figured as much. You've been busy, haven't you?" The way he says it, so casually, makes my skin crawl. He knows. He knows I've been digging, knows I've found things, and he's not even worried. "I'm not playing games, Tom," I say, my voice low, controlled. "You stay away from my wife, and you stay out of our lives. If you don't, I'll make sure every dirty secret you've got ends up in the hands of people who will bury you." Tom's smile fades, replaced by a cold, calculating look. "You think you can threaten me, Mark? Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" "I know exactly who I'm dealing with," I snap. "A criminal hiding behind a respectable facade. You might have the money, the connections, but you're not invincible." He leans forward, his eyes narrowing. "You're playing with fire. If you keep this up, you're going to get burned. You and Emily both." The threat is clear, and it sends a chill down my spine, but I can't show fear. I won't. "This ends now," I say, my voice hard. "If you come near her again, if you try to mess with us, I'll destroy you. I promise you that." Tom stares at me for a long moment, then slowly nods. "You've got guts, Mark, I'll give you that. But this isn't over. Not by a long shot." With that, he stands up, downing the rest of his scotch before walking out of the club, leaving me sitting there, my heart pounding in my chest. I've made my move, but I know this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something darker, something far more dangerous. When I get home, Emily is waiting for me, her eyes wide with fear. She must see the tension in my face because she rushes over, her hands trembling as she grips my arm. "What happened?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. I pull away from her, too wound up to be touched. "I met with him." Her face pales. "Mark, what did you do?" "I told him to stay away from you, from us. I told him I'd expose him if he didn't." "Oh God," she whispers, sinking down onto the couch. "What's he going to do?" I sit beside her, staring at the floor. "He threatened us, said this isn't over." She covers her face with her hands, her body shaking with silent sobs. I want to comfort her, to tell her it's going to be okay, but I can't, because I don't know if it is. "We need to be careful," I say, my voice flat. "He's not going to back down. We have to be ready for whatever comes next." Emily nods, but I can see the terror in her eyes, the realization that we're in way over our heads. And I know she's right. This isn't just about us anymore. This is about survival. Over the next few days, the tension in the house becomes unbearable. Every time the phone rings, every time there's a knock at the door, I tense up, expecting the worst. I can't concentrate at work, can't sleep at night. I keep replaying the conversation with Tom in my head. analyzing every word, every gesture, trying to anticipate his next move. Then one night, as I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my phone buzzes. It's a message from an unknown number. My heart skips a beat as I open it. Thought you should know where your wife was tonight. Attached is a photo of Emily sitting in a car with Tom. They're parked outside a restaurant, their faces close, too close. Rage boils up inside me, but it's quickly followed by something colder, more dangerous, fear. I bolt out of bed, grabbing my keys. Emily, startled by the noise, wakes up. What's wrong? Get dressed, I snap. Now. She scrambles to obey, confused and frightened. I don't explain, just drive her straight to the address in the photo. I don't care if she doesn't understand. She needs to see this. When we get there, the car's gone. But I know it's not over. I show her the photo, and she gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. I swear, Mark, I wasn't there. I don't know how. Stop! I cut her off, my voice trembling with barely restrained fury. He's messing with us. He's showing me that he can get to you anytime he wants. Her eyes fill with tears, and I see the guilt, the fear. Mark, I'm so sorry. I never should have. It's too late for that, I say, my voice breaking. We're in this now. All we can do is fight back. We drive home in silence, the air thick with tension. When we get back, I sit her down at the kitchen table, my mind racing with plans, contingencies. I can't let this go on. We need to strike first, find a way to put Tom on the defensive. Tomorrow we're going to Laura, I say, my voice firm. We're going to figure out how to nail him, how to take him down before he can do any more damage. Emily nods, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. I want to reach out to her, to hold her, but I can't. There's too much between us now, too much that's been broken. The next morning, we meet with Laura in a secluded park, away from prying eyes and ears. She's already dug up more on Tom, and it's worse than I expected. Money laundering, ties to organized crime, even rumors of violence. He's more dangerous than we ever imagined. We need to go to the authorities, I say, my voice tight with urgency. Laura shakes her head. He's got people on the inside, Mark. You can't trust anyone. Then what do? Emily asks, her voice small, defeated. We gather everything we can, Laura says, her tone grim. We find a way to expose him publicly, somewhere he can't control the narrative. But you have to be prepared for the fallout. He's not going to go down without a fight. We leave the meeting with a plan, but it feels like we're walking on a tightrope over a pit of fire. One wrong move, and we're done. That night, I confront Emily again. The fear in her eyes, the raw emotion, makes me soften. I sit beside her on the bed, close but not touching. Tell me everything, Emily, all of it. She looks at me, her eyes pleading for forgiveness. I didn't know who he was, Mark. I swear I didn't know. It started so innocently, just someone to talk to. But then, her voice trails off, and I feel the weight of her guilt, her shame. But then you let him in, I finish for her. You let him into our lives, and now we're paying for it. Tears spill down her cheeks, and she nods. I'm so sorry, I was lonely and I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. Despite everything, despite the anger and the betrayal, I still feel something for her, something deep and painful. Love, maybe, or at least what's left of it. We have to stick together now, I say, my voice steady. If we don't, he wins. She reaches for my hand, and for the first time in weeks, I let her hold it. We sit there in silence, united in our fear, our desperation. We're in this together, whether we like it or not. But just as we start to plan our next move, my phone buzzes again. It's another message from that unknown number. This time it's a video, and as it plays, my blood runs cold. It's a recording of us here in our bedroom from the night before. The camera angle, the sound, everything about it is intrusive, violating. Tom's been watching us, listening to us, and now he's letting me know. The message is clear. He's always one step ahead. He knows our plans, our fears, and he's not going to let us escape easily. I drop the phone, staring at the screen in horror. Emily looks at me, her face ashen with dread. What is it? I don't answer. I can't. The room feels like it's closing in on me, the walls pressing down, suffocating. I thought I could protect us, that I could take control of this situation, but now I'm not so sure. All I know is that we're in more danger than I ever realized, and the only way out might be a path I never wanted to take. I don't sleep that night. My mind is consumed with one thought: how to bring Tom down before he destroys us. Every scenario I imagine ends the same way, with Emily and me dead, or worse. I know the law, know how the system works, but that won't help us here. Tom's too powerful, too connected. If I'm going to protect Emily, I need to go beyond the law. The next morning, I call Laura. We meet at a different location this time, a park near the outskirts of town. I don't trust being anywhere familiar. I know Tom has eyes everywhere. Laura arrives, her face set in grim determination. She's uncovered more on Tom, but it's not enough to take him down yet. Mark, we need something bigger, she says, handing me a file. These are leads, but we need concrete evidence, bank records, communications, something that ties him directly to the crimes. I know, I say, scanning the documents. They're a mix of shell companies, shore accounts, and vague connections to known criminals. It's the web, and Tom's at the center, but pulling him out of it won't be easy. We can try to subpoena his records, but that's risky, Laura continues. If he catches wind of it, he'll bury everything before we get close. And with his connections, there's no guarantee the courts will even grant the subpoenas. We need to get to him directly, I say, the idea forming in my mind. If we can't pull him out, we push him in. Trap him in his own web. Laura raises an eyebrow. And how do you propose we do that? I need to set him up, make him think he's got the upper hand, then catch him in the act, I say, the plan coming together in my head. If he's as confident as he seems, he'll take the bait. And if he doesn't, Laura asks, her voice filled with concern. Then we're dead anyway, I reply, knowing full well the risks. But it's the only way. I've come too far to turn back now. We spend the rest of the day planning, going over every detail. The idea is simple: create a scenario where Tom thinks he can exploit us, but instead, he'll expose himself. It's a dangerous gamble, but it's all we've got. The first step is to lure Tom into a false sense of security. Emily has to meet with him again, make him believe she's ready to leave me and come to his side fully. It's a horrible idea putting her back in his grasp, but it's the only way to draw him out. When I tell Emily, she's horrified. You want me to meet him? After everything? I know it's dangerous, but it's the only way, I say, trying to keep my voice calm. He needs to think he's won, that you're ready to leave me. Then we can trap him. She shakes her head, tears in her eyes. Mark, what if he hurts me? What if he sees through it? He won't, I say, though the fear in my chest is real. I'll be nearby, and Laura will have eyes on you the whole time. We're not letting anything happen to you. It takes a lot of convincing, but eventually Emily agrees. The meeting is set for the next night at a secluded hotel. I'll be in the room next door, ready to intervene if anything goes wrong. Laura will be in the lobby, tracking everything. When the time comes, my heart pounds in my chest as I watch Emily enter the hotel. She's wearing a dress I bought her years ago, back when things were simpler, happier. Seeing her like this, knowing what she's walking into, tears me apart. I slip into the room next door, where we've set up a hidden camera to record everything. I can hear their conversation through the thin walls, my pulse racing with every word. Emily, Tom's voice is smooth, almost caring. I knew you'd come to your senses. I had to, Emily says, her voice trembling slightly. Mark's losing it. He's obsessed with you. I don't know what he's planning, but it's not good. Tom laughs, the sound chilling. Let him try. He's nothing compared to me. Once you're with me, he won't dare touch us. I grip the edge of the table, fighting the urge to storm in there and end this. But I have to wait, have to let him dig his own grave. I want to be with you, Emily says, her voice softer now, almost pleading. But we need to be careful. Mark's watching everything. If he catches wind of this... He won't, Tom interrupts. I'll take care of him, don't worry. He'll be out of the picture soon. That's it. The confirmation we needed. I signal Laura through the earpiece and she's already moving, ready to intercept Tom before he can leave the hotel. But then something goes wrong. I hear a sound from the hallway. Footsteps, heavy and fast. My stomach drops as the door to Tom's room bursts open and two men rush in, guns drawn. I don't recognize them, but they're not here for a chat. Get down, one of them shouts, and I hear the commotion. Emily screaming, Tom cursing. I grab the gun Laura gave me, my hands shaking as I push open the connecting door. The scene is chaos. The two men have Tom pinned against the wall, one of them holding Emily by the arm. She's terrified, her eyes wide with fear. Who the hell are you? Tom yells, struggling against them. Shut up, one of the men snarls, pressing the gun to Tom's head. We're here for you, Carter. You've pissed off the wrong people. This wasn't part of the plan. These men aren't with us. There's someone else, someone we didn't account for. I freeze, not knowing what to do, until the man holding Emily catches sight of me. Who the fuck is that? He snaps, pointing his gun at me. Let her go, I say, trying to keep my voice steady, though fear grips me. She's got nothing to do with this. Tom laughs, a harsh, bitter sound. So this is your plan, Mark? You think you can just waltz in here and play the hero? I'm not here to save you, I spit back, my grip tightening on the gun. I'm here to make sure you don't get out of this alive. The men exchange a glance. Then the one holding Emily pushes her toward me. Take her and get out, he growls. We're not here for her. I grab Emily, pulling her behind me, but I don't lower the gun. What do you want with him? That's none of your concern, the man replies. This is business, not personal. But it is personal, I think, looking at Tom's sneering face. It's all personal. Before I can respond, the other man fires. The shot rings out, deafening in the small room, and Tom crumples to the floor, blood pooling around his head. I stare, shocked, as the two men turn to leave. It's done, one of them says over his shoulder. Now get out before you end up like him. They disappear as quickly as they came, leaving us standing over Tom's body. Emily clings to me, her whole body shaking, and I feel numb, disconnected from everything around me. We leave the hotel in a daze, not saying a word. Laura meets us outside, her face pale. What the hell happened in there, she demands. But I don't have an answer. Tom's dead. The man who's haunted us for weeks, the man who threatened everything I hold dear, is gone. But instead of relief, all I feel is emptiness. We didn't win, we just survived. Back home, Emily collapses on the couch, burying her face in her hands. Mark, what do we do now? I don't know. I don't have a plan anymore. I sit beside her, staring at the wall, trying to process everything. We rebuild, I finally say, though the word feels hollow. We move on. She looks up at me, her eyes red with tears. Can we? I don't answer because I don't know. The danger is gone, but the damage remains. Tom's death doesn't erase what he did to us, what he made us become. The next few days pass in a blur. There's an investigation, of course, but Laura helps us stay clear of it. The police chalk it up to a gang hit, one of many in Tom's shady business. We're not implicated, but the shadows linger. Emily and I try to pick up the pieces to find some semblance of normalcy, but it's a fragile facade. Every time I look at her, I see the fear, the guilt, and I know she sees the same in me. One night as we lie in bed, she reaches for me, her touch tentative. Mark, I need you. I hesitate, then pull her close, trying to find comfort in the familiarity of her body. But it's different now, tainted by everything that's happened. Our kisses are desperate, almost frantic, a need to feel something other than pain and fear. But as we move together, I can't shake the images in my mind. Tom's blood, the look in his eyes as he realized he was going to die. I close my eyes, trying to lose myself in the sensation, but it's no use. Afterward, we lie in silence. Neither of us satisfied, both of us lost in our own thoughts. I can feel her slipping away, and I don't know. I don't know how to stop it. In the morning, I wake up alone. She's already up, sitting by the window, staring out at the dawn. I walk over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. She doesn't flinch, but she doesn't respond either. We'll get through this, I say, though I'm not sure if I believe it. She nods, but the distance between us feels insurmountable. I know we'll try, but some things can't be repaired. As the days go on, we keep up the facade, pretending that we're okay. But I know the truth. We're scarred, both of us, and those scars will never fully heal. Tom's gone, but his ghost lingers. Every shadow, every unexpected sound makes us jump, and the paranoia never leaves. I know we'll never be the same, that our marriage will always bear the marks of what we've been through, but we're alive, and for now, that's enough. I'm sitting in the kitchen, staring at the phone in my hand, my heart pounding in my chest. The district attorney's voice still echoes in my ears, his words cold and clinical. Tom's got allies, Mark, powerful ones. They're not happy with his arrest, and they know about you. They know about Emily. The fear that grips me is unlike anything I've ever felt. This isn't just about us anymore, it's about survival. I've spent my life navigating the law, but now the law feels like a fragile shield against what's coming. I go over the options in my head, but they're all bad. Witness protection is one way out, but it's not a real solution. It's a life of hiding, always looking over our shoulders, never truly safe. I can't imagine Emily living like that, constantly on the run because of the choices we made. I pace the room trying to think. We could disappear, but that's not who I am. I'm not someone who runs. I've faced down criminals in court, argued cases that put powerful people behind bars. But this is different. The rules don't apply here. The danger is immediate and it's personal. Emily walks into the kitchen, her face pale. She doesn't know about the call yet, but she can sense something's wrong. She's been able to read me like a book for years, even when we're not talking. And we haven't talked much since Tom's death. The silence between us has grown, thickened by everything we've been through. "What is it?" she asks, her voice trembling. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. Tom's friends are coming for us. The DA called. They know everything. Her eyes widen and she grips the counter for support. "What do we do, Mark? We can't fight them." "We can't. I'm not going to let anything happen to you," I say, the words sounding hollow even to my own ears. I want to believe them, but the reality is I'm terrified. Terrified of what these people are capable of how far they'll go to protect their interests. Emily sits down at the table, her hands shaking. "What do we do?" I sit beside her, taking her hand in mine. It's cold, and I can feel her fear through the trembling of her fingers. We have two options: witness protection, or I pause, the weight of the next words heavy on my tongue. Or we make a deal. "A deal?" She looks at me, confused. "There's another syndicate," I explained, my voice low. "A rival to Tom's people. They're just as dangerous, but if we can give them something, they might protect us." "It's risky, but it's better than running forever." Emily stares at me, her eyes wide. "You're talking about dealing with criminals, Mark. What if they turn on us? What if they're worse?" "They might be," I admit, my mind racing. "But I know how to negotiate. I know how to make deals." It's a chance, a slim one, but it's better than the alternative. She doesn't say anything for a long time, just looks down at our hands clasped together on the table. "And if it doesn't work?" I don't answer. She already knows what happens if it doesn't work. We make the decision together, though I know it's more me pushing than her agreeing. We don't have time to argue, to weigh every possible outcome. We need to act, and we need to act now. Laura is the first call I make. She's hesitant, but she agrees to help set up the meeting. She knows people who know people, and within hours, we have a time and place. It's dangerous, but Laura trusts this contact, and right now, trust is all we have. The meeting is set for a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. It's the kind of place where deals like this happen, where lives are bargained and bartered over without a second thought. I know I should be scared, but all I feel is numb. I've been running on adrenaline for so long that it's starting to wear off, leaving a hollow ache in its place. When we arrive, the warehouse is dark, the only light coming from the distant glow of the city. The air is thick with the smell of oil and rust, and every creak of the building sends a jolt of tension through me. Emily stays close, her hand gripping my arm so tightly it hurts. We step inside and I can feel the eyes on us before I see them. Two men emerge from the shadows, their faces hard, their eyes cold. They're the kind of men who've seen and done things that would break most people, and they radiate danger. One of them nods at us, and we follow him deeper into the warehouse. The man we're here to meet is waiting for us in a small office at the back. He's older, with graying hair and a face lined with age and experience. His eyes are sharp, taking in every detail as we enter. "You're Mark Anders," he says, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. He knows who I am, knows what I've done. It's unsettling. "Yes," I reply, keeping my voice steady. "And this is Emily, my wife." He nods, his eyes flicking to Emily for a moment before returning to me. "You've got a problem, Mr. Anders, and you think I can help." "I know you can," I say, forcing confidence into my words. "Tom Carter's people are coming after us. We need protection, and we're willing to make a deal." He leans back in his chair, studying me. "Protection isn't cheap, and it isn't guaranteed. You're asking for a lot." "I know," I say, swallowing hard. "But we have something to offer, information on Tom's operations, his contacts, everything. Enough to hurt his organization, maybe even take it down." He raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "And you're willing to betray them to save yourselves?" "Yes," I say without hesitation. "I don't have the luxury of principles anymore." He nods, considering. "It's a dangerous game you're playing, Mr. Anders. You might end up worse off than you started." "I'm aware of the risks," I reply, my voice firm, "but we're out of options." He thinks for a moment, then leans forward, his eyes boring into mine. "I can offer you protection, but it comes at a price. Once you're in, there's no getting out. You and your wife will be under my protection, but you'll also be in my debt. Are you prepared for that?" I glance at Emily, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. I know what I'm asking of her, what this will mean for our future, but it's the only way to keep her safe. "Yes," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "We're prepared." He nods, satisfied. "Then we have a deal." The relief that washes over me is short-lived. We've traded one danger for another, and now we're caught in a web we can't escape. But for now, we're safe, and that has to be enough. As we leave the warehouse, Emily doesn't say anything, just clings to my arm, her body trembling. I don't know what to say to her, don't know how to comfort her when I can barely keep myself together. I've made a choice that will change our lives forever, and I have to live with that. When we get home, the house feels different, like a place we don't belong anymore. We're not the same people who lived here before. We've been changed, scarred by what we've done and what we've been through. Emily goes to bed without a word, and I stay up, sitting in the darkened living room, staring at nothing. The deal we made haunts me, the weight of it pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. I've always been able to talk my way out of anything, to find a loophole, a way to win. But there's no winning here, only surviving. The next morning we go through the motions, trying to pretend everything is normal. But the tension lingers, unspoken but ever present. Every knock at the door, every unexpected sound makes us flinch, waiting for the next threat. I try to focus on work, but my mind keeps drifting back to the deal, to the syndicate that now controls our fate. I know I've made a bargain with the devil, and I'm not sure how long we can keep up the pretense of normalcy. A week passes, then another. The danger seems to have receded, but I can't shake the feeling that it's just the calm before the storm. Emily and I barely talk anymore, the silence between us growing every day. We're together, but we're also worlds apart. One night, I wake up to find Emily sitting by the window, staring out at the darkened street. I walk over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. She doesn't move, doesn't acknowledge me. "What are you thinking about?" I ask, my voice quiet. She sighs, her breath fogging the glass. "Everything. Nothing." "I don't know." I sit down beside her, the distance between us palpable. "We'll get through this," I say, though the words feel hollow. She turns to me, her eyes filled with sadness. "Will we, Mark? Can we really come back from this?" I don't have an answer, so I just sit there holding her hand as we watch the night outside, the darkness pressing in around us. I can feel her slipping away, the connection we once had fraying with every passing day. But we're alive. We're safe for now. And that has to be enough. It's all we have left. The days blur together, each one a repetition of the last. I go to work, but my heart isn't in it. I come home, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. Emily drifts through the house like a ghost, and I know she's as lost as I am. One night, as we're getting ready for bed, she stops me, her hand on my arm. "Mark, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" I ask, my heart skipping a beat. She takes a deep breath, looking me in the eye. "I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if we can ever be the same." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, but I can't say I'm surprised. I felt the distance between us growing, felt her slipping away. "What do you want to do?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitates, then looks away. "I don't know. I need time, Mark. Time to figure out what I want, what we want." I nod, though the ache in my chest is almost unbearable. "Take all the time you need," I say, knowing it might be the end. She gives me a sad smile, then turns away, climbing into bed. I lie down beside her, but I can't sleep. My mind is racing, my heart heavy with the weight of everything we've been through. I don't know what the future holds for us, if we'll find our way back to each other or if we'll drift apart for good. All I know is that the storm we've weathered has changed us, left us scarred and uncertain. But for now, we're alive. We've survived. And that has to be enough, even if it's not the life we once dreamed of. As I lie awake in the darkness, I wonder if we'll ever find peace again, if we'll ever be able to let go of the fear that's taken root in our hearts. But I know that as long as we're together, there's still hope, still a chance to rebuild what's been broken. The night stretches on, and I hold Emily close, feeling the steady rise and fall of her breathing. We're not the same people we once were, but maybe, just maybe, we can find our way back to each other, one day at a time. I sit in my office, the late afternoon light casting long shadows across the room. The silence is heavy, pressing down on me like a weight. It's been weeks since we struck the deal that secured our safety, but the relief I expected hasn't come. Instead, there's a void, a gnawing emptiness that refuses to let go. Emily and I have settled into a routine, but it's a fragile one, held together by the thinnest threads. We go through the motions of daily life, but there's an unspoken understanding between us that things will never be the same. The trust that once anchored our marriage is gone, replaced by something brittle and uncertain. I find myself thinking back to the beginning, to the days when everything seemed so simple. We were in love, building a life together, unaware of the storm that would eventually tear us apart. I can't pinpoint the exact moment when things started to unravel, but I know it was long before Tom Carter entered our lives. His presence was just the catalyst, the force that brought all the buried resentment and unspoken fears to the surface. As much as I try to push it aside, the memory of those days lingers, a constant reminder of what we've lost. Emily and I still sleep in the same bed, but the space between us feels vast. I can't remember the last time we touched with any real intimacy, and the distance grows with each passing day. Tonight, I'm sitting in the living room when Emily comes in, her expression unreadable. She looks at me for a long moment before speaking, her voice quiet but steady. "Mark, we need to talk." I nod, my heart heavy with dread. "I know." She sits down across from me, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything that's happened." "So have I say, my throat tight. She takes a deep breath, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I don't know if we can ever get back to what we had. Too much has happened. Too much has changed." I look at her, feeling the truth of her words like a physical blow. "You're right. We're not the same people we were before all of this. I don't know if we ever will be." She finally meets my eyes, and I see the pain there, the same pain I've been carrying with me. "But I don't want to give up on her," she says, her voice trembling. "I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to try if you are." I stare at her, the weight of everything we've been through hanging between us. I think about all the ways I've failed her, all the mistakes I've made, but despite everything, I still love her. That much hasn't changed. I want to try, I say, my voice firm. I want to find a way back to each other, no matter how hard it is. She nods, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Then let's start over. Let's take it one day at a time and see where it leads us. It's a tentative agreement, but it's more than we've had in weeks. We sit there in silence for a while, neither of us knowing what to say. But there's a sense of resolution, a decision to move forward rather than let the past destroy us completely. That night, as we lie in bed, I reach out and take her hand. It's a small gesture, but it feels monumental after everything we've been through. She squeezes my hand in return, and for the first time in a long while, I feel a glimmer of hope. The next few days are awkward, filled with tentative steps and careful words. We're both afraid of saying the wrong thing, of shattering the fragile peace we've managed to establish. But we keep trying, and slowly the walls between us begin to lower. We start talking more, not just about the past, but about the future. We make plans, small ones at first, dinners, walks, time spent together. It's like we're relearning how to be with each other, rebuilding the foundation of our relationship brick by brick. But the shadow of what we've been through never fully leaves us. I'm more cautious now, always on edge, always looking over my shoulder. The deal we made to protect ourselves still looms large, a reminder that the danger hasn't entirely passed. One night, as I'm sitting by the window, watching the darkness outside, Emily comes up behind me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. I lean back into her, closing my eyes, letting the warmth of her body ease the tension that's been my constant companion. "Do you think we'll ever be free of this?" she asks, her voice soft. I don't answer right away because I don't know. "Maybe not completely," I finally say. "But we can try to find peace, to make a life despite it." She rests her head on my shoulder and we sit there in silence, watching the night together. The darkness outside, it feels like a reflection of the uncertainty that still lingers between us, but it's less intimidating when we face it together. As the days turn into weeks, we continue to rebuild, to find new ways to connect. It's not perfect, and there are still moments of doubt, of fear, but we're moving forward. And for now, that's enough. Standing by the window, I hold Emily close, my eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The world outside is still dark, still filled with threats we can't see, but I feel more prepared now, more vigilant. I know what it means to fight for what matters, to protect what's important. Emily presses against me, her presence a comforting reminder that we've made it this far together. The future is uncertain, but as long as we keep fighting, keep trying, there's a chance we can find a way through the darkness. And maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to start over.